That's the way I see it.
That's where I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way you see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way I see
That's the way
it.
I see it.
That's why I see it.
Welcome to this episode of The Way I See It. I'm your host, Austin Darga, and on today's episode, I talk with Anders Garner, who is the Vice President of the PATH Foundation. What is the PATH Foundation, you ask? Well, listen and find out. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here today with Anders Garner. He is the Vice President for the PATH Foundation. PATH stands for Passing Along the Heritage, and they're a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide hunting and fishing opportunities for people with disabilities, and they will also help support those who do not have or can't afford the accessible equipment needed to enjoy these outdoor adventures as well. So, good morning, Anders. It sounds like you guys have got a pretty good thing going on here. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Austin. Thanks for having me here. It's definitely my pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. So Anders, tell us about how you got involved with PATH.
So the origin story of the PATH Foundation is probably where we should start with that. When I was 14 years old, a good friend of mine in school, he was one of three children. He was the oldest. He was hunting with a shotgun that was kind of an inferior gun for deer hunting. My dad won a better suitable, a 12-gauge Remington with a slug barrel. And knowing what the family had gone through, and Dad was raising three kids on his own, we decided to give that kid a gun. And what happened from there, and this was in 1998, I was 14 years old. What happened from that point on was a group of like-minded gentlemen got together at my Uncle Bobby's house. He had since passed away. In Dearborn, and there were 7 or 8 of us there. I was 14. I didn't really understand what was going on, but that was when we formulated the PATH Foundation. Its original name was Chuck, which was named after Chuck Mack and Chuck Connell, Chuck Mack was the guy who we got the guns from as part of the donation to this kid. He actually sent another set of firearms for the younger son for when he started hunting. And Chuck Connell is a gentleman that had been taking kids and handicapped people fishing for years around the Cadillac area. So Chuck stood for challenging hunters to use cash for kids. And then we morphed into the PATH Foundation probably 10 years or so later.
Wow. So, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yes, absolutely. Our first banquet that we held was basically a fellowship dinner where 30 to 50 people showed up and threw $50 in a hat. There was no 501 at that point. We just had that money, and if we found a kid that needed a fishing rod or needed a firearm, we just bought it and gave it to him.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And I must say, I am very pleased with all of the amazing hard work that your organization is doing, and you as well. And with that, I would also like to give a quick hello and shout out to one of your board members, Alan Campbell. I got a chance to meet him about a month or so ago at an open house event that I was at, and him and I were having a conversation, and I got to learn a little bit about what your organization is and what they're about and what they stand for. And so it was just really a really great opportunity to hear the information that I got from him as well and what he does. And we also got to spend some extra time working together on an article for a local newspaper up here as well. So I would also like to say thank you to him for that as well. He did a really great job with that. And you know, Anders, I recently saw a video that you guys had posted online of a young man with Williams syndrome who shot a buck, and it was really cool to be able to hear, to see and hear his expressions and reactions on how happy and proud he was of that. And what also impressed me as well was that there was an older gentleman with a white cane like I have who went over and touched the deer that he shot, which then made me think to myself, you know, how great and how amazing it is that one person or one opportunity can truly change the world for the better, especially when it comes to motivating and encouraging someone to try new things and be able to increase their skills and gain confidence from that, and also have more independence as they go along the journey as well, because I believe at the end of the day, that's something that we all want in our lives. And I also heard somebody mentioning in the video as well how the sportsmanship of hunting and fishing is dying off more and more nowadays, especially in today's society with people being more interested in video games and technology and being on their phones. And so with that being said, why is it so important to pass down the heritage of hunting and fishing to younger generations? And what is it about these outdoor adventures that are so beneficial and essential to people's lives?
I feel as though hunting is as a tradition in Michigan, all over the world, has been family oriented. Mm-hmm. Right? If your grandpa hunted and your dad hunted, you typically are a hunter. We have that dying out in our society. Sometimes these hunts are not about the actual shooting of something or the killing of something, if you want to go there. Sometimes that is just what brings people together. But I've had people that know they're gonna die in 2 months or 6 months come up to me and thank me and give me a big hug for helping achieve their last dream, so to speak, off their bucket list. And what I tell every single one of those people is, I do this because I care. You know what I mean? Like, I do this because I want the tradition to last. I also try to take as many youth hunters, able-bodied youth hunters that I can. Last year I had 2 hunters that I helped attain tag transfers, which we could get into that if you want to talk about that, for bears across the state. I just think the community side of hunting is kind of where it's at. You know, it's a niche group at this point in time. I think there's statistically somewhere we're down from 10% of the population down to somewhere in the 6% of the population that actually still hunts. I think it's a really valuable thing to know. I'm a big advocate for firearm safety. I will go on the record saying this. I think we should teach firearm safety in the school systems. I really believe that, because I think with the influx of video games going on, and especially like first-person shooter games, the reality of what happens when you pull a trigger in a video game is much different than in life. And I think some people get that confused at times, where if we can use education in order to curb some of that would, societally, I think that would help. Just to let you know, another really big thing going on right now in Michigan is there's a lot of high school sporting clays and trap teams that are shooting up, which is considered the number one safest sport in high school right now. No one's getting hurt. No one's getting shot. It's all about firearm safety and doing things in the most ethical way possible. I know that doesn't quite answer your question, but it's very roundabout.
Well, no, you pointed out a lot of really great things here. And, you know, one, you're absolutely right. People are getting confused when it comes to, you know, being able to use a gun. And I know that this is a kind of a touchy subject and I won't get too much into it, but we are living in a really sad world nowadays where there are a lot more public shootings than there used to be, especially school shootings. And, you know, the lack of knowledge that people have based on what you just mentioned on how there should be more education in firearm safety and everything. I believe that if we did have more of that in our lives and in our society, then I would really hope that the world could be a safer place for all of us. Absolutely. And, you know, they say that sportsmanship is really good for kids in school because it teaches them life skills that they don't get in academic classrooms. So just mentioning that, how are hunting and fishing different from other sports such as football or baseball, for instance?
Oh, I mean, if you take, let's say, hockey, football, basketball, whatever you say, basketball, you're dealing with twisted ankles all the time. You know, hockey, and football, you're dealing with concussion issues, among a myriad of other things. You don't have that in hunting and fishing. You know, when you're ethically doing things safe, yes, once in a while you're going to catch a hook in your finger while you're putting a worm on it.
Sure.
But it's, from that standpoint, in my opinion, they are safer sports.
Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of interesting that you bring that up because Tom Hanks was in a real famous movie where he said the line, There's no crying in baseball because there's a girl that, was maybe got upset or something.
I've seen the movie.
Could have gotten hurt. And while I totally disagree with that logic, because, if you're in sports, freak accidents can happen anywhere, anytime. And so, but if you're having the experience of hunting and fishing, it just is a totally different vibe altogether. There's an old wise saying that goes, and I'm pretty sure that you've heard it as well. If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And I believe that to be true in all sorts of different aspects in life, especially when it comes to becoming more independent and self-sufficient.
100%, Austin. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
You're listening to The Way I See It. We're talking with Anders Garner. Stay tuned for more after this. Hey there, listeners. This is Austin Darga, your host of The Way I See It. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, why not sponsor an episode? Whether you're promoting a product, service, or brand, this podcast is the perfect place to get your message heard. If you're interested in purchasing a commercial, reach out to my producer, Micah Haven, at mhaven@grandtraversindustries.com. That's all one word, MHAVEN at grandtraversindustries.com. Or you can call Grand Travers Industries at 231-922-4885. That's 231-922-4885 and press 4 for Micah Haven. We're now back to The Way I See It with Anders Garner. So with all this talk about safety training, talk about the process of what someone might need in order to participate in your outdoor activities and adventures. Is there any special safety protocols or training that they would need to go through, and what are they?
So most of our clients, we'll call them, or the folks that we take out in hunting scenarios. For example, I have a kid that has epilepsy. He has to have a caregiver with him all the time, just in case something happens. They were actually, not this weekend, the next weekend, we're doing a turkey hunt. He's going to be on that. I think I have him set up to go on a bear hunt this year. He's 15 years old, out of the Grand Rapids area. But his dad's got to be with him everywhere. His dad is his caregiver. From our side as a board and how we manage things, most of the folks that we're dealing with, they have their person with them in order to assist. So from a training standpoint for me, I don't have to worry about that because they're bringing someone with them that is trained on all of our adventures.
Well, that's really great to hear, and I am really glad to hear that people with epilepsy are getting their needs met, because I have an old friend who has epilepsy as well, and I remember facing a traumatic experience with her one time when we were at a store hanging out together with a group of people from Disability Network. I've talked about that on the podcast before, and I won't talk about it again, but having that experience really has taught me a lot about the condition. And I've had a couple of different experiences in my life being around people and even around pets and animals that have suffered a great deal of distress, and ever since then I've just been wanting to do more research from those experiences to just kind of figure out what to do and how to help someone and be a good Samaritan in those situations. And ever since, it's always been my path to help out people, help out a community, be a voice for someone who might be in crisis or in trouble, and also be a voice for the disability community as well, along with my public speaking and broadcast skills. So being able to do this platform has allowed me to do everything that I've always wanted to achieve, and I've been able to reach past my goals and accomplishments from that, which I'm extremely proud of. And so some really good memories of that have really taught me a lot along the way, which, speaking of, I would like to ask you now to share with us some of your favorite memories from your time at Path.
Oh, shoot. Favorite memories. I've been on the board now, I think since 2019 or so. Like I said, I was a founding member when I was 14 years old back in 98. We're just about ready to hit I believe it's our 27th banquet this year. Probably my favorite memory so far. And it's not that it was special to me because it was the first time I did a bear hunt on my own. And there was a myriad of challenges that were involved with this. But getting Caleb Geiger, a bear, who had just he was a kid who had just lost his vision the year previously when he turned 14. All of a sudden, November 17th hit. He woke up and couldn't see anymore. Getting that kid and doing it the first time on my own. I'd helped buddies before. That's probably my favorite memory so far at Path. But with that being said, last year I met a guy named Phil Benson. We picked our hunters in June, and Phil had on his application that his lifelong dream was to shoot an elk. And I call Phil up on the phone. I say, "Hey, Phil," I go, "I don't have any bull elk, but I have some cow elk. Would that be something that would interest you?" And his response back was, "You mean I'm going to get to shoot an elk before I die?" I said, "Yes, sir." I go, "We're going to do this early September." The gentleman passed away 2 months after that, but he was one of the most genuine human beings I had ever met in my life. And I knew from that first phone call that I had to shake the man's hand. And I'm so happy I did. So that's probably like my favorite memory from last year. But Austin, everything's a new experience. I had a guy 33 years old with Huntington's last year. His dad died of it. He knows he's got 10 years or less to live. He can't stand up from a chair without knocking it over. It's sad, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, I have to go now," and wanted to give me a hug to thank him. And I'm like, "Dude, thank you for being able to come on this hunt. It's more important to me to help be a facilitator and be in the background than it is to take the glory. It's all about the people that we can service for me." Wow.
Well, there's a lot of really, really excellent points that you just touched on there. Number one, you, for the first time, got the opportunity to be challenged and try something on your own and do your own problem solving and through that process. And
there were a lot of problems to solve there. Let's not.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I'm totally in the same boat with you there. And this is the same thing with me as well. But that allowed you to reach out and help other people just as I have, and not only that, but help somebody else leave a legacy for the world before their time was done, which I feel like that is truly heartwarming. I think this is one of the most, and we've had a lot of them, but this is one of the most heartwarming moments here on The Way I See It. I mean, just thinking about it and talking about it with you, like, almost really wants to bring me to tears, because at the end of the day, when my time on this earth is done, I want to leave knowing that I did something not just for myself, but for my community and the world in general. There was actually there's a song that I referred to by Michael Jackson with a previous guest that I had a long time ago, back last summer. It's called Heal the World. And that song, if you ever get a chance to check it out, is just a real tearjerker, because her and I, just as you and I have and are doing right now, are healing the world. And that particular episode is actually called Healing Connections, just as a reference to people who haven't yet heard it or want to check it out. Check it out, episode number 6 of The Way I See It. But anyway, I mean, I could go on a tangent about that all day, but just hearing that just, really motivated me to make me want to talk about it. So before we wrap up here today, Anders, do you have any positive messages or words of encouragement or advice that you would like to give to people with disabilities out there who have not yet gotten the opportunity to participate or try an outdoor adventure?
Do it. There's plenty of places across this country and different organizations similar to what the Path Foundation does that have these opportunities available. I know there's a guy, Shiloh, I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. He's out in Pennsylvania, and he takes people on adventures like this. I know some folks that have been out there to shoot elk with him. A lot of the hunting that we are doing, and I'm not saying that it's not, we're not doing some of this stuff in nature too, but a lot of the hunting that we're doing with especially these sorts of folks is in a high fence scenario. So it's in order to encourage the ability to be successful and offer them an adventure that they can't get anywhere else. My encouragement is for anybody that has a handicap that thinks they might want to do something like that, is to find a place. There are people everywhere that want to help out. My mission is to normalize handicap hunting. And the reason my mission to normalize handicap hunting is because of how I look at it. You're just another hunter to me. It doesn't matter what your disability is. I can overcome all of that. Austin, I could have you shooting something. I can have you reeling in a fish. I don't need your eyes to be able to do that. I can take about anybody. We have 4 B-adaptive trailers. What those have is they have specialized shooting systems in them. They're joystick controlled. I can take someone, as long as you can bite a mouthpiece, suck on a tube, or press a button, I can have you shoot something. As long as it's standing still.
Sure. Safety first. Always consider that.
Well, but I can't have you do that on a duck or a flying pheasant. I work with other nonprofits. We have the Wings of Freedom guys, which we send those guys, couple $5,000-$7,000 a year. Those guys specialize in taking veterans, first responders. They have a big pheasant hunt down in Morley every year. I would encourage any of your listeners, if they're a veteran or a first responder, to look up Wings of Freedom. It's a free of charge pheasant hunt. It's a 4-day event, typically later September. With our stuff, like our application deadline is the end of March. We always put an emphasis on kids first, and then we kind of work out from there. Last year, I had a really cool hunt. I have a 14-year-old kid with cerebral palsy, and his dad is early 30s and had his leg blown off in Afghanistan. His dad's problem is he's always wanted to take his kid hunting. His kid can't walk more than about 50 yards at a time because of the cerebral palsy. And dad's got a fake leg, so he can't pick the kid up and take him out. They're hunting state lands and different stuff like that. So we were able to get them in a blind together, do a father-son hunt, and the dad was a cow elk hunter and the son was a whitetail buck hunter, and we were able to have them both shoot their animals and get their pictures together last year. We were the lucky ones that got to help facilitate a dad's dream to take his kid hunting. So.
Wow. Well, this is a listening platform, so for everybody just hearing this out there, I just gave Anders a big thumbs up with everything that he just mentioned, because I could not think of a better way to wrap this all up in our conversation here, because everything that you just mentioned, and I think is truly necessary for everybody to be able to hear, and that is what we advocate for every time here on The Way I See It, and you just did that today, and so I cannot be any more happier or pleased with everything that you just said. So with that, I would like to thank you, Anders Garner, for coming on today, and I also want to thank you and your wonderful team at the Path Foundation for everything that you are doing for our community and society as a whole to truly change the lives for the better. So for people who are interested in participating in your outdoor activities, is there any contact information, like a website that they can go to learn more, or call you guys or anything?
So passingalongtheheritage.com.
Okay.
That's our website. If you look on there, there'll be, if you're interested in applying, if you're interested in anything. The phone number listed on the website, unbeknownst to me until a couple months ago, is actually mine. So if you have any questions, when you click on that phone number or you make that call, you're actually calling my cell phone.
Okay.
So, we do have some email questions. That goes to another board member of ours. The really unique thing that I think about the Path Foundation and why I love it so much is nobody takes a penny out of it. As a 501, we don't have board members that are getting paid. We all do this as a volunteer basis. We all have, I don't have a normal job per se, but we all have normal jobs, and we do this in our spare time because we care. Not every organization can say that. There are definitely some people out there that are doing it for their pocketbooks and not just for the love of people.
Yeah, you absolutely have to make sure that they're legit. And I for one, can tell you that this organization is legit. Just go to their website, learn more about what they're about and what they stand for, and I think that you'll get a lot of benefits from it if you or someone in your family or a friend of yours is somebody with a disability that is looking for more opportunities. This would be the perfect place to do it.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody about it. Just did some exciting news. You guys this will be the first place this will be broadcast. So we've been doing our banquets in the Holly Grand Blanc area for 27 years. And what happens is we outgrow a facility before we even move into it. So our current banquet is May 2nd. It sells out in 10 days. And it's 430 people. Each one of our hunters and their person who accompanies them gets a ticket to the banquet, and that's where they receive their trophies. So whether they shot a pig with us, with the guys at Trophy Ranch in Ubley, they get a skull of that. Or like a bear, like Caden Geiger last year is getting a bear hide. That's where they're going to receive everything. So the news is we are actually moving to a new facility next year. It has not been inked yet, but I'm assuming it'll be inked by the time this airs. And we are actually going to be moving into Mount Pleasant next year, into Soaring Eagle Casino, because we're at our 430 person capacity at our current facility at 10,000 square feet. We have now had to grow into a 13,000 square foot facility to house more people. It's pretty exciting. I've been working on this project for a couple months now, and we were able to kind of finally put it all together. I had a board meeting last night where we approved it. Austin, you have the information no one else has right now on your podcast.
Wow. Well, I'm happy to be able to provide that for people. And my producer and I will work hard to put up a link to your website along with the podcast episode as well, so people can refer to it and get some more information that way as well.
I appreciate that very much.
Awesome. Is there anything? Are there any other thoughts that you have before we wrap up here today?
So many thoughts, but I think you're getting ready to wrap up, and I don't want to stretch you out too far here.
No. Well, I just want to, I can't thank you enough. Like I said, for everything that you're doing, and with that, I hope that you continue to move forward in the positive direction that you are, and with that, also. Keep on passing along the heritage. So thank you, Anders.
Yeah, and Austin, thank you for everything you're doing for the folks in your community. What you're doing is fantastic, and we need more people like you.
No, that really means a lot. That touched my heart in more ways than one. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to The Way I See It. This podcast is brought to you by Grand Traverse Industries, a Northern Michigan nonprofit whose mission is to fiercely advocate, strengthen, and advance the dignity and opportunity of people with disabilities. Our theme is composed by Nick Vane, and our producer is Micah Haven. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, but in the meantime, this is Austin Darga reminding you that life is a journey. No matter where it takes you, always go where your heart leads you.